I'm Sam.
And I'm Max.
And this is Movies Actually, where we give you an honest review of the movies we've meddled with so mischievously over at Maybe Movies. And this time, we're talking about Near Dark, the 1987 Catherine Bigelow directed film, starring Adrian Pasdar, Jenny Wright, Lance Henriksen, Bill Paxton, Jeanette Goldstein and Tim Thomerson, amongst others.
With a notable mention as well for Joshua Miller, who plays Homer.
Yes, he did do a couple of movies, I remember, but he never got big.
No. So this is the only thing that I remember him from. It's a bit like Jenny Wright as well, because I mean, so this and Lawnmower Man is the only thing I think I've ever seen her in.
Do you mean Jenny Wright?
Yeah.
Ah, right. Yes, of course. Sorry, I thought you said Jeanette Goldstein for a minute.
No. Jeanette Goldstein
Right,
is ubiquitous.
She wasn't in that movie, I'm sure of it.
I mean, obviously, this one is a bit of it's a bit of a reunion for the Aliens cast as well, isn't it?
Oh, yes, it is. Yes, Lance Henriksen, Bill Paxton,
Yep.
And Jeanette Goldstein, all starred in Aliens.
Yes, absolutely.
Excellent roles.
And this was Catherine Bigelow's directorial debut.
Of course it was, yes, I didn't know that before. I knew it was the one that made her famous, but I didn't know if it was her first. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think she'd done stuff before for James Cameron, because I think they were a thing for a while.
All right.
And I think he wanted her to do something else, and she went, nah, I'm going to do this, and kind of poo-pooed him a little bit, I think. And
right, now that's interesting, because I might be wrong, but I think The Abyss was 1988.
Don't remember. I've seen The Abyss, but I couldn't remember when it came out.
And that was a very, very long shoot, because he was doing incredible experimental stuff. I mean, never mind the stuff he did for Avatar. The things he did in The Abyss laid the groundwork for everything he's done ever since.
Oh, of course they would have done, yeah.
He was doing groundbreaking work in underwater filming and things like that, so it was a very long and involved shoot.
No, but she obviously decided she wanted to go her own way.
Okay. Fair dues to her.
Yeah, absolutely. And ended up writing or co-writing the script for this, and they shot it. I mean, this was quite a quick shoot. It was about 47 days or 47 nights mostly.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's fairly standard for the time. I mean, I think in the 80s the average shoot tended to be sort of 42 to 48 days. Sometimes 35 if it was incredibly cheap.
Yes, yeah. Obviously all filmed at night. And again, I've been watching some of the stuff on like the featurettes and stuff on there. And as it turns out, I don't know if there's quite enough, but there is certainly enough material to do a very short One of the Drinkers development hell.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so they were supposed to be filming in Oklahoma, and they're all ready to go and get the plane to go to location.
Uh-huh.
And they had a phone call saying that they'd had the worst storms and floods in Oklahoma in decades, wiped out most of the sets that they'd had built, a lot of the locations, storm damage, flood damage.
Oh, right.
So then had to relocate a lot of their stuff to Arizona. Okay. Which then had a snowstorm in Arizona.
Oh, that's ripe.
Yes. But apparently that was the other thing as well. Apparently, I think it must have been the co-writer, and they were driving back from set because they were all doing night shoots for most of it.
Okay, yeah.
And they were driving back early one morning, him and Catherine Bigelow, and he was driving and he fell asleep at the wheel and almost...
Ooh, almost wiped out.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Well, the things people do for their craft.
Well, talking about that, talking about suffering for your art.
Go on then.
The smoke effects later in the film.
Yeah.
These were apparently they did that by having a layer of prosthetic skin.
All over their faces.
Yeah.
Oh, in Arizona.
Which all had kind of like tiny little tubes that fed into the back of it with little pinpricks in the skin. These all went onto a little device that they had to have about their person, which basically acted like a pump, basically acted like a bellows, and inside the device were 2 or 3 lit cigars. So all of the smoke that you see in the film is cigar smoke.
So they were carrying around
lit
burning
cigars,
ashes the whole time. Oh, dear me.
Which, I think...
Yeah, that would make me nervous.
Yeah, because Adrian Pasdar was saying that he stunk like a stogie for about a week and a half. And what was even worse was when he'd been wearing this thing for a couple of hours,
Yes.
you'd get a lot of the nicotine would start just dripping through the pores.
Oh, the brown... Gloopy.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
So grim. So this came out in 87. I first heard about it it was my friend Rob who told me about it, and I didn't meet him until 1990.
Oh, right.
So it would have been early 90s by the time I'd had time to track it down.
So, once again, you're a little bit behind me. I remember, it's like I said when we were watching the movie, there was that one shot and I went, that's the shot from the trailer.
Mm.
And it had that little piece of music, bam, better, little lamb.
Yeah, yeah, many girls like me.
Bam, better, little lamb. And it started off, and it was the only cool bit of that song, actually. Now, if you actually listen to it in the background, the rest of the song's kind of pants, but the beginning is great. But they used that in the trailer, and that's how I experienced it. I was watching horror movies. I heard a horror movie, had the trailer on it, had to watch it.
Absolutely. It is a fantastic film. If you've never seen it, in a nutshell, this is the story of Caleb, played by Adrian Pastor, who is a young man living in a backwater town in I think he's supposed to be, is he in Oklahoma? I think that's where this film is set. Or Kansas, I think he's supposed to be.
It's either Kansas or Oklahoma.
Yeah. And one night, while just shooting the shit with his friends, he spies this beautiful young woman, Jenny Wright, and just has to go over and say hello, as you would, and finds that he's bitten off a bit more than he can chew.
To put it mildly.
Yeah.
To put it mildly, yes.
As I said, this is Catherine Bigelow, obviously, who went on to do bigger and brighter things, obviously. Point Break.
Really?
Yeah. The Hurt Locker.
I knew she did The Hurt Locker, but I
Yeah.
didn't know Point Break was hers.
Yeah.
Ah, well.
This was the kind of film that sort of
I haven't
started
seen
it
that
off.
movie for 30 years either.
Sorry, all of a sudden I just want to say, you mean you ain't seen Bad Boys 2? Sorry, if you know, you know. But yeah, it is a fantastic film. It was very much pitched and written as a non-gothic vampire film.
Oh, this is the vampire movie for the modern age.
Absolutely. Totally by design. Everything else that we've talked about from the 80s always has a slight veneer of the gothic to it.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, prior to this, there was The Hunger, and The Hunger did reinvent the vampire a little bit.
Yeah, I
but
didn't enjoy that too much.
Not in the way that this movie did.
No.
It reinvented it entirely. As I'm increasingly convinced it's an allegory of some sort. I'm just confused about what it's an allegory for.
The only one I've ever really heard is making an allegory for drug addiction.
I mean, like, your surface reading would say yes. But if you really think about the characters, it's like, alright, for starters, the basic premise is that vampirism is some sort of blood disease that transmits really quickly.
Yes.
But then if you look at the relationships between all of the vampire characters, they're all, if not actually, at least quasi-sexual in nature. Their origins, their point of meeting, and the relationships they display. It's a very dysfunctional family, but there's a lot of sensuality to them. Even to Homer, I mean, think about what he does later in the film.
Yeah, absolutely. No, definitely.
He's desperate for something.
Yeah, that works.
And I'm just wondering if this means that vampirism isn't just a blood disease, it's an STD.
Ooh.
You see, I'm not sure. I'm reading too much into it. I'm sure Catherine would slap me across the face and tell me, no, I'm wrong. But I just wonder what she was actually intending when she was making this movie.
Especially considering the time when it came out.
The time it came out, the fact she was one of the first successful female directors.
Which apparently, again, I've been watching the featurette on it, all the actors that worked with us said they absolutely loved working with us. Said it was so different to being directed. Especially Adrian Pastor makes a point of saying it's the first time we've ever been directed by a woman. And it was so different from the male directors that he'd worked with before.
Oh, right. I didn't know.
Yeah, she was, a lot of the stuff that's in this film came from, and stuff that ended up in the film. Them bringing her ideas and her going, okay, well, let's try that.
Oh, so it was a collaboration all the way through?
Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. I, as an actor, I love that kind
Absolutely,
of process.
same. Absolutely, yeah. But it's definitely, again, if you do get this film, do try and get one with the featurette, because there's some lovely stuff in it. Especially Lance Hendrickson is a monster. The amount of stuff that he did just for the role, he lost like £40 for the role.
Wow, that's almost Christian Bale level of stuff, yeah.
If you look at his nails in the film, what you got is he got a guy that you knew in Hollywood to make him these fake nails. And they're quite thick. He then went home and basically just chiseled off the end of them so they're all broken.
I never noticed.
Yeah, he did all of that himself. But, do watch it, because there's a couple of anecdotes that he gives One, because when they went to finally get to go to set, everybody else flew, and he said, no, this guy lives on the road, I'm going to drive. And he picked up a hitchhiker, and then just went into character with this hitchhiker.
Oh, somebody had a bad day.
Yeah.
Somebody had a really bad day.
While they were shooting, they had an evening off, and they went, and it was definitely him, because he was driving, Bill Paxton, I think Jeanette Goldstein as well was in the back, and they got pulled over, because he was doing about 80.
Oh, okay, that will get you pulled over, yeah.
Yeah, and again, he just went into character, and he was just staring at this cop like he's lunch. To the point that the guy apparently he was looking at his registration, looked up, saw this look in him, and literally took a step back and instinctively reached for his gun.
Oh, whoa.
And just went, go, off you go.
Somebody had a bad day.
Yeah, with Bill Paxton next to him going, no, just leave it, man, just leave it.
It'll be fine.
But, no, this is definitely a great film to check out. It is, unfortunately, well, again, at the time, it is another one of those wonderful cult movies that didn't do well at the box office. It took less than $700,000 in its opening weekend, and only 3.4 million worldwide on a budget of 5 million.
Oh, that must hurt. That happened so many times. The movies that I love and adored growing up, that were so incredibly popular on video and rental and things like that, why were they such failures at the box office?
This one, unfortunately, there is a couple of reasons. Partly it was the marketing.
Okay, so there is a reason.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the other reason was that they opened it on Halloween weekend in 1987, within days of The Lost Boys.
Ah.
Yeah.
I think I understand what went wrong there.
Yeah, unfortunately. So it did kind of suffer. But, again, as I said, like a lot of good films have done, it made its mark on the small screen.
Mm. It certainly did, and a lot of people remember it fondly. And I hope, perhaps thanks to us, that more people will remember it fondly in the future.
Definitely do check it out. It is well worth your time. You can't do anything wrong. And again, as I said, and I've also said it once, do try and get a version with the special features, because there's some lovely stuff in it. And you can see it's really heartfelt, because the featurette that's on there was filmed maybe 15 years after this. And there's some nice interviews with the cast. It's still weird not seeing Adrian Pastar as General Talbot.
Yeah, that's a modern age thing. Thank you, MCU.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely do check it out. For me, it's definitely a 2 thumbs up film.
Oh yeah, 2 thumbs up, totally. Go check it out. If you haven't seen it, you'll understand once you've finished watching the movie why it's worth your time.
Yes, I mean, the only thing that I would say, if it still doesn't change my rating, the only thing that is a little bit of a con for it for me is, for a 90-minute film, it does take just a little bit too long to get going. I think they could have, not being as much of a gore hound as, say, Shane is, I still like a little bit of action, and I could have used a bit more of it earlier.
Oh, you see, I liked the slow transformation experience, and him learning. That worked for me, because of course he had no idea what was happening to him, He'd be full of questions and confusion and doing the wrong thing and doing all the things he does. It makes sense. It's one of those movies, and it's hard to say that about horror movies, but it makes sense.
It does. Apart from one thing at the end, but we'll leave that for people to make up their own minds about.
Yes, the end.
But the other thing as well about this, obviously, if you are at any time soon planning on running a Sabbat campaign for Vampire the Masquerade, it's a must-watch.
Oh, this is the proto-Sabbat right here.
Yes.
Check it out.
I have it on good authority that there are no coyotes in England.
Oh dear.
That's all from us. We will see you next time. Take care.
As always, guys, TTFN.